Welcome to Mecha Break, the game where giant robots beat the absolute shit out of each other, and you either feel like Keanu Reeves operating a mech, annihilating anything and everything in his path, or a glorified tin can rolling into battle like me. Mecha Break is a fast-paced multiplayer mech shooter developed by Amazing Season Games. And just to be clear, I'm not putting Amazing in front of their name, they are literally called Amazing Season Games. Think of Mecha Break as Titanfall meets Armored Core, but with even more customizable mechs and a bit of that. Gameplay-wise, it's fairly simple on paper. There are two modes in this game. One is your 6v6 multiplayer battle where you pick a mech, hop into battle and either dominate the battlefield or simply get tossed around like a soda can. But you know what? At least it looks cool. You have light, medium and heavy classes for both attack and defense focused mechs. Then on top of it, you also have snipers and brawlers, which in my opinion hold their own against other mech classes. And that's why I am mentioning them separately. Each class has its own merits and cons which players will have to understand and adapt accordingly. I personally liked the medium attacker. It felt like a jack of all trades, good at everything, not great at anything, just like me. The other mode that the game recently introduced was the PvEVP extraction mode. Yay, a new mecha game. You know what it's missing? An extraction mode. Bingo. I don't know whose idea was it, but I really think they should reconsider investing money and time developing this separate mode when they can invest that same money and time to make the core gameplay, that is the multiplayer part of this game, much better than what it is now. The extraction shooter genre is quite saturated at this moment, and just because there are mechs in it, the players who have deeply invested in already established extraction shooters are not going to move over to this game. Maybe a few will give it a try, but to think that this game mode will see a sustained player retention is quite a bit ambitious and frankly a bit foolish. For most of the part, this does not even look like anything that resembles an extraction shooter. You're operating a mech, shooting around anything and everything in your path and just looting everything that you kill. That's what I experienced when I played one match in the extraction mode, and on top of it, I immediately felt overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that were happening around me. I had little to no time to experience and enjoy the fight that I just had with an enemy. Instead, I was thrown about 3 or 4 new instructions to complete. I know some people are going to enjoy this, but I didn't find it enjoyable even a bit. I would rather see them focusing on the multiplayer and the campaign part of the game. Speaking about the campaign side of this game, for the time being, it's bad, like really bad. The voice acting, which they had clearly mentioned as under development, the narrative side of the story, everything needs a big improvement. I was 5 minutes into the initial phase of the demo and I had already started skipping cutscenes as they looked and sounded cringe with the dialogues and gave me little to no insight that I would not have gotten by simply playing the game. If this is going to remain somewhat same after the release, I'd like to have the option to skip all this and just directly jump into the game. This is a multiplayer game with mechs in it. That's good enough of a reason for me to play the game. Alright, let's talk about the good stuff, starting with the mechs. Chef's kiss. These machines look insanely good. The design and animations are stunning. Each mech looks different from the other. This is simply a mech lover's wet dream in 4K, to be honest. The combat is fast, fluid, and you will feel like a badass until someone better than you shows up. But that's okay, this game has a little bit of learning curve in terms of understanding movement, weapon combos, and knowing when to engage or to get the hell out of a fight, and that, my friend, is the difference between looking like Keanu Reeves and looking like you have no clue what you just walked into. Surprisingly, I did not encounter any game crashes or critical bugs during 3 to 4 hours of gameplay, so in that front, I'm really happy. The last thing anybody would want is to crash out of the game in the middle of a fight. On the other hand, while loading into a match, I had faced internet issue at my end, and after reloading the game, I was able to join that same match without a fuss. Big thumbs up to the devs for that. Oh boy, this is going to be a long section, so please bear with me. Starting with the UI, it feels way too cluttered. After loading into the game, you are in the hangar, which seems to be the main menu, but it is also where you select or customize your mechs and pilots. I really don't want to see my mech stats in the main menu when I load into the game. That can be accessed when I'm choosing a mech. For the objectives, add a show and hide toggle switch so that players can access it as they like. It doesn't have to be on my face 24/7. After loading into the game, I would simply want to look at the big, bad and beautiful mech of my choice and the option to play. Move the hangar area in a separate tab. The names of the other tabs are also quite confusing. Tactical station is where you will be able to select different game modes and objectives as well. The battle pass section is named as Matrix Contract. Store is named as Logistics. Like, who on earth is making those name choices, man? Just keep it simple. You don't have to reinvent the wheel in everything. Next up is the pilot. The single most annoying, insignificant and waste of resource thing for me in this game is the pilot. Unlike Titanfall, the pilot has literally nothing to do in here in terms of gameplay except for when you have to watch their ass for the short animation as they get into the Mac at the start of a match, or if you decide to explore the hangar. I know what you did there, devs. You guys couldn't say no to those sweet microtransactions for cosmetics. Just because the first Descendant did it and got away doesn't necessarily mean that you could bring a shitty version of it and get to walk away. In that game, it never felt forced on my face, but in this game, although it's just a few seconds of animation, but it felt forced right on my face. My suggestion or request will be to either remove or change that animation, or else give players an option to skip that animation part. Combat felt confusing, or to be precise, the amount of weapon options and button presses felt confusing at times. Lately, games are moving into making combat more and more complicated, and I'm not a big fan of it. In this game, during a fight, there is so much going on around you, and having to switch to a different weapon felt confusing and taxing at times. Let's talk about currency, and there are quite a few in this game. You have your merit points that you earn through extraction game mode, Corite, which is your premium currency, and lastly your Matrix credits, which is your common currency that you earn by playing the game. Although I would agree that it is not as aggressive as few other free-to-play game released recently, having two different currencies in a game is more than enough. I don't really understand game companies putting this much thought and effort into monetization when your game is not even out yet. In my short 3 to 4 hours of gameplay, I could easily see that mechs were not at all balanced. Light mechs had little to no significance other than looking slim and getting instantly deleted when fighting any other mech classes. In a way, that's fine and fits well to their build style, but you've got to balance it with high damage. If I compare this mech class with the finals, in which we have our light, medium and heavy classes, the light is high on damage and low on health. I found the high on damage part to be missing during my gameplay session in Mecha Break. This, I hope, will surely be rectified and adjusted with player feedback, but I couldn't just ignore it. This game is trying to do too many things, and I genuinely think this will negatively impact the gameplay experience. At this moment when I am playing the demo, they have a half-cooked multiplayer, an AI-written generic story that is really bad, and a confusing below-par extraction mode. So how do you expect people to get excited about your game? It's great that you want to have a story, a multiplayer mode and an extraction mode, but you can't have all of it at the same time. Even big AAA studios haven't been able to pull that off flawlessly. So my honest recommendation would be to just ditch the extraction mode, at least for the time being, and just focus on the campaign and multiplayer side of things. Plus, they also need to figure out who are their actual target audience, and if the devs are thinking that players from existing extraction games or other multiplayer shooter games are going to switch to a new game which doesn't even resemble to anything that they have been playing this whole time, then the devs are in for a surprise. So, should you play Mecha Break? If you are a fan of games like Titanfall and Armored Core, then absolutely give this free-to-play title a try. Who knows, you may end up liking it. Even if you haven't had the pleasure of playing Titanfall, which is arguably the best FPS title ever released in my opinion, you can still go for it if you like fast-paced combat, customization, and... Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and let me know in the comments what's your go-to Mac in Mecha Break. Till next time, take care, much love, and peace.